So this session we are going to learn all about how I built my business and a community of 20K plus crystal lovers with WordPress, WooCommerce, and Facebook by Melanie Surplice. Melanie, interesting story. She just told me she's an old-time COBOL programmer. Any COBOL lovers in the room? Wow, look at that.
Hello.
I was expecting a room of nobody. Cool. Cool. All right. So thank you very much, and take it away.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here, and I'd like to start with a thought about you never quite know the day that your life is going to change fundamentally. And there can be a big bang change, you know, things can happen suddenly, but change can also happen on any given day by just one little step, one chance meeting, one insight, something you read. And, you know, that can lead to another step and another step and another step. And sometimes you find yourself hopping along a path that you may never, ever have expected. And so today's story is about that and how that happened to me, and the day in 2015 that I was called to buy a stone called lapis lazuli. And so all the jewellery I have on today was part of the jewellery and the crystals I bought the day that really kind of changed the direction of my life. So blue stone, and the thought literally came in out of the blue. So yeah, I'm going to share a bit of a story about how and that happened. So yeah, we're going to talk about how my journey into the woo-woo of the world and how my online retailing business began. We're going to look a bit about the WordPress, the site build, and I built it myself, which is a bit horrifying. I'm more of a marketer. I'm not a very good COBOL programmer, and I'm certainly not a very good WordPress developer. And then the community build, so how I went about building a community of very kind of engaged, enthusiastic crystal fans on Facebook. Then we'll look at some tips and tricks for creating and curating content and keeping people coming back, and just some of the lessons I've learned from 18 months of this very interesting, challenging entrepreneurial ride. So in terms of who I am and what I do and what I would love to keep doing full time, I'm actually a shamanic crystal healing and Reiki practitioner. I'm not necessarily the floaty type of practitioner, and 20 years of corporate life will, you know, that's my background. So, but at the moment I also do some marketing consulting, but I'm also seeing clients one-on-one, so I use crystals and Reiki as energetic healing work, and I do run small workshops out of home as well, so all crystal related, and it's work I love. Now I also operate this online gift shop, and I sell crystals, so you know, individual crystals like that, clusters, big pieces, small pieces, groups of crystals, oracle cards, tarot cards. It's my online woo-woo shop, and I used to love these types of shops as a kid. We used to hang in them for hours and hours, and yeah, so I sell kind of new age products. And I'm gearing up to launch an online workshop soon and downloadable products. So it's a bit about where I'm going. Now, this is what my clients think I do. This is what my friends think I do. It's what Mum thinks I do. This is what Dad and most people actually think I do, particularly Dad. When I first said to Dad that I was going to be selling crystals, he said, "Rocks, you're selling rocks," and all that. Yeah, Dad, I am, and not to people like you. This is what I actually do. So this is actually what, you know, when I sit down to do work, it's a lot of content creation, a lot of looking at the analytics, a lot of content. Really, content, content, content. Then I spend a lot of time taking pictures of crystals on my apartment floor. And so over to the left is my shop. So this is all running out of my one-bedroom apartment. Never quite expected to be warehousing and stocking crystals in my lounge room. This is my warehouse manager, Venti, the woo-woo cat. She gets involved in absolutely everything. In fact, every time a new box comes into the house, she has to sit in it. And yes, so, so not only am I the crazy cat person, I'm the crazy crystal lady as well. Like it's woo-woo central at my place. Okay, so in terms of how this journey began, I actually started as a computer programmer, and I wasn't a very good one, but I did it for quite some time in banks. So I worked on transaction processing systems, and then I moved into marketing. So probably about 20 years ago, I moved into marketing roles for mainly B2B kind of enterprise technology companies. So my background is actually enterprise tech, very long sales cycles, no consumer marketing experience. I've lived and worked in London, so I've sort of moved around a bit. And in 2005, I was working for a company at Dow Jones, a subsidiary of Dow Jones, and that got me into blogging because we were selling reputation management software that monitored the blogosphere at the time in 2005 when there wasn't really a massive blogosphere. So I've been interested in blogging and technology for as long as I can remember. And so when I set about starting this Surplice's Spirit blog, it was actually my 7th blog, so it's not like I'm new to this blogging caper. I've been attempting to, you know, I've experimented with blogs for quite some time. Photography, travel, lifestyle blogs, another natural health blog. And at the same time, so I'm working in all these stressful corporate positions, and if anyone sort of has worked in the corporate life, you'll know that that can get pretty in your face. And that really got me interested in natural health. And so I started to train up as a massage therapist and Reiki, and I got into all of that. So the more full-on that work got, the more I was interested in this natural health side as a way of just finding balance in my life. And you can kind of see the paths converging here. In 2015, I'd been working for a tech company down in the valley, and that, again, was, you know, a 24-hour, round-the-clock PR manager role for an ASX-listed company, and that got very tiring and stressful. So a job came up at Endeavour College of Natural Health, and I thought, great, I'm going to be around all these natural health practitioners, I'm going to start writing about blogs again. And then in the October 2015 was the day I got this call to buy the Lapis Lazuli. Now, I'm not going to go into that whole story, but the short part of that was that I trusted my intuition, and that led to me doing a crystal course, which led me doing to a few things, and then suddenly I'm like, okay, I'm going to sell crystals. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I've never sold anything in my life. I've never done markets, never done anything like that, but I really felt there was an opportunity to run with it. And so in November through December that year, I started to source stock. I started to learn about packaging, postage, shipping, and I started to build out the site. So just in terms of, I knew it was always going to be WordPress because through my blogging experience, I already had, you know, I'd built 2 self-hosted WordPress sites. And I knew that my requirements here were, you know, it needed e-commerce functionality, it needed stock management, calendar management, online bookings. So as it stands now, there's about 12 product categories and about 400 unique products. And one of the challenges for my business is the products aren't standardized. So I spend a lot of my time photographing content, you know, stock, creating listings for it. And it's quite a manual process, but I think part of, you know, the reason I've been able to personalize that is that I literally know each piece that's on my site and I can talk about it, and my customers sort of have a trust in me now that I'm going to pick good quality pieces. Like I literally hand pick every piece, photograph it, and then sell it. So I can talk to them about the actual products in a lot of detail. In terms of the plugins I'm using, so cost of goods, WooCommerce cost of goods, WooCommerce appointments, so that does the online bookings for my one-on-one sessions. WP Smush has been talked about today. Duplicate Post, which is a massive lifesaver for me because a lot of my products are clones of each other, so that makes life really easy. Yoast SEO, Sumo Me for some pop-ups and sharing with, buttons, MailChimp, because all of this hooks into my email system, CoSchedule, and I'll talk more about that. I really couldn't do what I do without CoSchedule. And this one down the bottom, Facebook Open Graph and Google and Twitter card tags. It's a mouthful. But that was one I picked up from, I think, the Social Media Marketing Society about, it handles Facebook, the post to Facebook really well. And I think this one will come into its own with the latest Facebook change of the link previews. You can't change link previews. So this one actually does it really well. And the lecture I heard about that particular plugin was that Yoast can do it, but not quite as well as this one. So that's why I use it, that one. So when I went to do the launch, and bearing in mind I built this site by myself, my brother's a developer, but I pretty much did this site. So just in terms of a timeline for the first month, I decided around the December timeframe, I'm like, oh yeah, 1st of January, that feels like a good date to go live. So I started the Facebook page about a month earlier, and right from the beginning, I decided I was going to do a paid likes campaign. I had zero brand, no one knew me, and I didn't have a physical presence. So right from the beginning, I knew that I was going to be investing in Facebook paid likes. The 10th of December, so I started posting pictures of my products on Facebook. So I got the first sale through the Facebook page, and I did a fair bit of, continued to do about nearly $1,000 in sales just through the Facebook page that first month. And, I spent in the order of $650 on Facebook ads. So, again, from a business of nothing, by the time, 31st of December, I had a couple of thousand fans on Facebook, and they were sort of, giving me really good feedback about the page and what I was doing, and, it was a nice small base that, the organic reach at that point was pretty good, so I was getting, useful feedback about what they liked and what they didn't like. Then I launched the website on the 1st of January, and the first sale came through that day. So I'd sort of primed this audience, and a few people were holding off until they could actually, see more information on the website. But the first time that the sale came through and the magical sound of the PayPal ding, who likes the magical sound of the PayPal ding? I remember seeing a meme going around Facebook saying, every time you buy from a small boutique online shop, there's an entrepreneur in their pajamas doing a happy dance, and that's me every single time. So then, 18th of January, I resigned from my full-time job. Now, there were other things brewing at the time. One was I was just sort of overworking full-time. I'd had a really challenging few years in corporate life, and I was pretty much over it, so I just resigned. And then by the end of January, I was sort of at around the 5,000 mark. I'd spent obviously a fair bit more money getting to that point, but the average cost per like at this point is around 30 cents, which is pretty cheap. And for a brand, again, that had nothing, I was prepared to invest in that. And sales sort of continued to go up. In amongst all of that, there was fairly substantial changes going on in my personal life, including moving home, or moving to a different home, and so there was a lot going on. So whether that actually helped the scenario from an adrenaline point of view, or I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily recommend launching a business in the middle of massive personal change, but anyway. None of this was really planned this way, so it was no surprise that that's how it panned out. So in terms of the Facebook community, so by this stage I had a bit of critical mass, and it was, one thing I didn't want was a whole lot of people and crickets. There's nothing worse, I think, going to a Facebook page than it's like, oh, it's pretty quiet here, there's not much going on. So my tagline is for lovers of crystals, cards, and all things mystical. And the page has to be about that. That's kind of what I'm promising. When people get there, that's what they expect. And I can't put stuff on that page that doesn't fit that kind of tagline, because that's my promise. That's why they've signed up. So I decided at the outset that I wanted to target Australian women, mainly because the idea of international postage at that stage was just a bit of a horror show. I just was barely getting my Australian postage sorted out. So I really wasn't interested in the international market at that point. And the 25 to 55 age group. So fairly broad, but crystal lovers are crystal lovers. And I just sort of thought they were the demographic that would actually, you know, have the capacity to pay and be interested in what I had to offer them. Now, I worked on, content-wise, I worked on the principle of 80-20. So every, you know, 5th post, I could do a promotional post. Every other post had to be information, you know, either informing, inspiring, or entertaining. And that, I think, I've continued that theory. And I guess one of the things I see with Facebook pages is where there's a lot of promotional posts, it just gets a bit tiring. You know, the audience is like, well, give me some value, you know, give me something of interest here. So yeah, that mix has worked for me. And I recognised that engagement was critical. Again, you know, what I do and crystal healing and the one-on-one nature of what I do is a really personal business. Like, people tell me really, really personal things, and they're doing this on my page as well. And so, you know, I do respond pretty much to, not every single comment, but I certainly try. And I respond to every single message that comes through my page, and that might be, you know, questions like, what's a good crystal for losing weight? And what's a good crystal for this? And I treat them all with the same kind of love and respect, even though I'm sitting there going like, you know, really? But so yeah, just commenting and engaging. Like, it is social media. It's about being social. So that's been really important on my page. And as I said, they really confide in me a lot. And I have to giggle when people say, yes, you've got to know your customers. Well, my customers overshare with me. I hear about all sorts of things, and I'm just like, okay, all right. But, you know, I kind of take that as again, I treat that with respect, and yeah, they tell me a really lot of personal things. And so one of the other things as well, I showed up every day. So every day for 18 months since I launched this page, I've posted at least once, but if not 4 or 5 times a day. And, you know, it's hard to know how many times is the ideal time, you know, number of times to post on your Facebook page, but I kind of get a good rhythm going at about 4 or 5 a day. And I've got friends who run Facebook pages, and they're, I'm not getting any traction or any engagement. It's like, well, you have to post more than once a week because, you know. So, yeah, it's just been consistent, and I'll get more onto that. Now, my philosophy is serving first, sell later. If I build the relationships, the sales kind of happen. People, you know, my people trust me, and I genuinely care about that. And they send me love letters, and they send me letters about how, you know, how the page is impacting them. And that's, you know, that sort of is more job satisfaction than I can remember from my corporate days. So that's kind of how I've gone about doing that. Now, just in terms of the top chart, that's the growth of the likes, and I have continued to spend about $330 a month on average. I was looking at my stats the other day, every month on a paid likes campaign. And it's still costing me, you know, anywhere between 22 and 30 cents a like. So I've spent a fair bit on that, but that has paid itself easily 5, 6, 10 times over. So that's pretty much one of my only marketing expenses. Facebook is where I'm driving my time and my energy, but that sort of, it's nearly at 21,000 now. And that's basically giving me, it's kind of adding credibility in other areas. So it's not necessarily about the numbers, but it's what I can point to when I approach publishers or, you know, conferences like this, or any number of opportunities are sort of coming from the fact that, oh, okay, there's a solid number of people there now. Now, in terms of this chart, this is the reach the page. So you can see the dark orange line is the paid kind of either boosted posts or the paid likes campaign, but my organic reach is not going down. And so, again, if you're hearing sort of stories about don't post 3 or 4 times a day or 10 times a day, whatever, because reach will go down, that's not necessarily the case. And that's, you know, yeah, it's about having compelling content, I think. So in terms of some of the ways I now kind of advertise back into this base, that it's a really kind of cost-effective way for me to do that now. So I've kind of taken the hit up front in the cost of, you know, buying the likes and keeping people on the page and keeping them engaged. But just in terms of the numbers, so this is an example of a promotional post, and it doesn't actually even really look like a promotional post. It's not screaming ad, ad, ad. It's pretty crystals, which my people like. So on this one, for example, I might have spent $60 on that. It's kind of costing me around 6 cents per engagement, but then I'll get, you know, in the order of nearly 600 likes, and, you know, the average value of my sale is about $100. So, and from an ad like that, I might get, I don't know, 10 sales. So it well and truly pays for itself in terms of the ROI on the ad, but it also gets out to a lot of people. So again, I'm kind of looking at a long-term play, like the more people that know about me, and they might kind of not buy something if they've liked this ad, but it just keeps them in mind, or keeps my brand in mind at a time when they are ready to buy. So it's now quite cheap and quite cost effective for me to, you know, sell back into this base. So in terms of content, and I'll go through some examples in a sec, it's really about adding value, and I wanted to do that from the word go. I would do what I do without getting paid, because that's how I started, and that's it's my philosophy. I love taking pictures of crystals and cards and telling the story about them. So I would do this if I was not being paid. And so this idea of giving away a lot of content, asking for anything in return. A social media schedule, so I pump out a lot of content, and I'll show you a sample of my schedule in a sec. But really to mix up, you know, video posts, quote posts and image posts, Facebook Lives, and I haven't really got into Facebook Lives yet because I find that whole concept horrifying. But I know I'm going to have to, and Facebook likes it, so therefore, you know. And then building in regular posts that encourage engagement and interaction, and that's really important. I think that's been one of the ways that I've kept people on the page. You know, so I've paid to get them there, and now I want to keep them there. Also being human and humble, so it's quite different running a page from your own perspective rather than a brand page. But I think brand pages get a bit too corporate and stiff, and some do it really well, but most are sort of, you know, so bound in, you know, corporate policy and messaging that it kind of gets a little bit lost. So I think if you're running your own page, you've got so much more opportunity to inject you into it. And then tools I can't live without from a content perspective are CoSchedule, as I mentioned. Has anyone used kind of that as a scheduling tool? Nope. Okay. So every time I publish a blog post, I can schedule the post, so it's a plug-in, an editorial calendar. It then lets me schedule, I schedule out to Twitter, so 2 posts a day, 1 post to Pinterest, 1 post to the Facebook page, 1 post to Instagram, and it pushes the content out to Instagram, so I can actually schedule Instagram content, and I post 4 posts a day on Instagram. So that has been a lifesaver. It means I can, you know, when I set up my posts, my card a day posts each day or each week, I can pump out about 50 pieces of content that's already scheduled and without a whole lot of extra effort. Canva is really good for, you know, creating branded content. Lumen 5, it's a new one I came across. It's great. It's a video production tool, free. It's awesome. I'll show you a bit of an example of a video. I won't play the video, but it basically will scrape your blog post, and it's really good for list articles or list posts or how-tos. And it literally scrapes the content from the site, from the post into a format that you can create little slides, and it's got free stock library images and free audio, and you can create a pretty awesome video for free in about 15 minutes, and the results are pretty good in terms of, Facebook reach and all that, and Photoshop. So this is an example of my editorial calendar. So basically every single day up the top row, I do a card a day, and I'll show you kind of what that looks like and why I do that. Then all the bits in red are various curated content. So I do a real mix of, it'll say curated video or curated post. So I mix up videos, quote posts, and then about once a day, the yellow ones are kind of promotional posts. So, I'll promote different parts of what I sell. There's a spot in there for like new blog posts and old blog posts. So I recycle my blog posts as well. I make sure that each week I'm recycling old content, and CoSchedule makes that hugely easy. So this has been pretty critical as well, just to keep a mix of content and to remind me to, mix it up. All right, so I just want to look at a couple of signature posts and why I'm kind of doing it like this. Basically, each day, because again, my tagline is for lovers of cards, or crystals, cards, and all things mystical. So there's oracle decks, like tarot card decks, and I have lots of those. So each day, I actually create all of this in batch now. It's just much easier to create 30 at a time rather than each morning, which I used to do, but that's practical now. So basically every day at about between 6 o'clock and 10 past 6, I create a post, and it's like a little mini reading for the day, and it's just the meaning of the card, and then I twin it with a crystal. So I photograph all of that. It's all unique content to me. It showcases the cards, some of which I sell, some I don't. All of the crystals that are shown are for sale, so every day it's giving me an excuse to push, to put a product in front of my people in an unobtrusive way. The other thing about these readings, so in the top highlighted circles, I've highlighted the producer or the creator of the cards. So they're influencers. They're normally, people, Doreen Virtue, some of the big people, the big names in the healing space. So I'm tagging them. That's opened up all sorts of opportunities. Ina Segal, the author of these cards on this side, contacted me recently through my page, said, hey, I love what you're doing with my cards. Could we meet and have a chat? And I'd like to collaborate with you. And that happens quite a lot now. So I'm sort of starting to get on the radar of not only those influencers, but their publishers, which is perfect, because if I ever want to create my own deck of cards one day, I've got, I'm building the relationships that will let me do that. So my people like these card readings because they're getting to know me, and they, it gives them a bit of free value for the day. So for the audience, it's free in terms of value, bit of intrigue. They know every day it's going to be there because there has not been one day when one of these hasn't gone live. So they know to come back. If they don't see it in their feed, they'll come looking for it. Now also, I'm educating them about crystals. So again, at the bottom of the post, there is an information section on what that crystal is, what it's good for. So it's kind of informing them. And it can lead to sales. And it took me quite some time to actually think about putting a link to the actual products at the bottom of the post. I didn't do that for the first year, and then this year I thought, well, hang on, I'm getting asked about it. I'm just going to start linking back to the products. So there's a bit of benefit there. As I said, it works kind of from an influencer perspective. It's getting on their radar, the publisher's radars, and it's just acknowledging their work. And, you know, it encourages them to reshare. So I've had some of the big names reshare, like they reshare my stuff a fair bit. It happened one time and overnight I got a couple of hundred likes just because it was shared on a bigger page, and that's kind of what, you know, what we're all aiming for, I think. And then I repurpose it as blog content and all of that. So it goes out in tweets. This particular format works well for Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter and Facebook. So in terms of interactive posts, and again, this is where I think people have come to expect from my page, you know, reasons to come back. So over there, all the hearts, each Friday I do a giveaway competition. So I can actually, crystals are cheap enough that I can give them away every now and then. So what I do with this one is, you know, say, tell me what you're grateful for, and everyone comments, and it's beautiful, it's a really nice thread. And, you know, that's sort of getting out to 7,600 people organically. So that's, you know, from an organic reach point of view, it's just getting it out there. I don't really boost those posts, don't need to, because, you know, people just get involved, you know, they share it. It gives me an idea of, again, getting to know my customers. I get to know their concerns and what they're thinking. And another thing I do each week as well is a little mini reading, and these are really popular. So basically, here's 4 different cards. Choose which card is you know, which card you're drawn to, and I'll come back later in the evening with all the meanings. So I get the initial burst of enthusiasm and traffic in the morning when I post it. Again, you know, that one got 6,500 reach, lots of, you know, shares and things like that. And then I come back in the afternoon or the evening with the meanings of the cards, and it gives me another chance for discussion with them, and you know, they're like, oh, this is so relevant for me, or this is what I'm going through, or whatever. So it's sort of that relationship building. And this is another one. So this is an example of a, you know, content that I batch create. So it's like, pick a crystal that you're drawn to, and I'll come back later tonight and I'll tell you the meaning of it. And I have about 10 of those images, different colours, and I just cycle them through. So I don't kind of create, you know, one every week. Some of the stuff I just, you know, recycle through, because 10 weeks in Facebook time is forever, and what they were drawn to one time may not have any relevance for them. So, but yeah, they all tend to get really well shared and, you know, good organic reach, and so I kind of can bank on that now, that kind of reach. Just in terms of video as well, like Facebook definitely favours video, and that's another reason for doing Facebook Live. That's the coming challenge. But over there is an example of the Lumen 5 video I created. So I just repurposed one of my most popular blog posts, which is about crystals for energetic protection, you know, how to ward off the murky stuff and the murky people. And so I already knew it was a popular post. And most of these, you know, I posted that a few times on the page, but when I pushed it out in video format, it was almost like, oh, new content, new content. And yeah, that sort of, I did boost it for a bit just to see if it would kind of move it along, but I didn't really need to. Like it sort of, you know, that's sort of 50% nearly organic reach there, which is sort of fairly high from what I understand. And videos, so other people's curated videos as well work really well. So again, that's kind of, to me, it's really important to mix it up. All right, so in terms of key learnings for the last 18 months, I'd really be saying be prepared to give away a lot of value, and that's kind of one of the tenets of inbound marketing, you know, content marketing. Just give a lot away in return, and you're building that trust and relationships. provide personalised and outstanding service on and offline. And it's really not, hard to stand out from a service perspective because there's so much bad service out there. And impersonal service online. And so my people know that pretty much if they message me through the Facebook page, they're going to get a response pretty much within an hour, and that might be at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, on the weekend. I don't kind of work normal business hours where this business is concerned. The next point being that you've got to be online where your customers are. And I often make sales, my biggest sales period is between 9 and 11 o'clock on a Friday night, because that's when the ladies are having a wine, they're in their pyjamas, watching Netflix going, feel like a crystal. Because that's when I do my shopping, so who can relate? Who's bought something at that time of night, right? So it's a bit of a guilty pleasure, this crystal buying caper, and but if they send me a message going, oh, could I just see one more picture of this or that, chances are they're going to get a response from me, and you just don't get that kind of service from a lot. Also, I package my, all the packages that go out are done in such a way that it's like a little box of magic. That's the experience I want. I really like how, Apple do things, for example. But, so when people open my packages, there's lots of pink tissue paper, smelly, squirty, aromatherapy stuff, little presents and free things, and tied in a pink. It's very girly. But they text me to say they arrived. So they're very excited when they receive their purchases, and they're very likely to sort of say, I just like ordering stuff from you because it's so nice. I just want to keep doing that. Oh, good. Excellent. Inject your personality into your business, but don't make it about you. So there's a balance. It's about, I think, being enthusiastic about what you're doing, helping people, and that's kind of been my philosophy. And really, just above all, if you're debating whether to start something up, just give it a go. It's really learn as you go. You don't have to have it all figured out. This has been my least planned business venture ever, and it's just cracked its first profit, like in its first full financial year. And there's so many things that I want to improve, but it's like, all right, it's just, you can learn as you go. Don't kind of think you have to have it all figured out. And above all, have fun. So, go. Now, just before I take questions, I want to, this link here, there's a list of about 50 marketing resources, so things I've used over the years, podcasts, books, online courses, a whole lot about content marketing. So it's just a list of resources, but these have been the things, I can personally recommend all of the courses I've listed there. I don't think there are any affiliate links. So they're just the resources that I've found as a corporate marketer over the last few years that have helped. So I hope you find those useful. So any questions?
We have about 5 minutes for questions.
Yes. Oh.
I don't know. It's all right. I'll shout. A paid.
Yes.
I really don't know what they are. I'm sorry.
Okay, so Facebook's got an option where you can run a campaign that will push your ads out to a defined audience. So I said in my ad, I want it to be pushed out to women who are aged between 22 or 25 and 55, who live in Australia, who are interested specifically in these, 20 categories of listed interests, and it pushes the ad out to their feed so that they see it, which means, if they're interested in it, they like it. Yeah. Cool. Oh, yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Using it.
I am using Instagram. There's about 5,000 people on that too. But Facebook is sort of really drives about 85 to 90% of my business so far. I wanted to focus on it first. I am starting to see more sales through Instagram. I love Instagram. It lends itself to the sort of stuff I create. There's about 5,000 crystal lovers there too. Instagram's a bit more competitive, actually. There's heaps more people, like there's a lot of crystal sellers on Instagram. Heaps. Yeah, but I'm a fan. Cool. Yeah, up the back.
Oh, hey Mel, thanks. That
Hey.
was really inspirational and enlightening. So my question is, your field and the crystals are really visually appealing, right? Like the pictures are delicious.
Yeah.
And how would you adapt your strategies to a more boring field, like design workshops? That's kind of so do these strategies translate? Would you try to make something less visually appealing visual?
Yeah.
Like this doesn't apply, it only sticks to this if you're doing cookies or crystals or something where there's a lot of visual bang.
I think that's the challenge. Like, I'm in a contract I'm working in now, I'm working with fresh produce. So, you know, you could say a banana's uninteresting, but if you arrange it in a beautiful way, in a fruit platter, it becomes, you know, far more interesting. So I think the challenge for everyone is how do I make this product, whatever it is, beautiful and interesting, and whether it's an image that evokes a feeling of the outcome. So I think some products really, you know, like a nut or a bolt or something that you look at and go, well, that's pretty, you know, that to me would be telling the story of why that's important, where it sort of sits. Or if it's a workshop, it's like, well, what are you going to get out of that, and what's a picture that represents that? I think physical product is actually, and that's been a really interesting change in my approach, because I've been selling intangible, you know, software for years and years and years, which is pretty boring, like you know, in its visual capacity, pretty boring and hard to get across. So I've actually enjoyed the product side of things, where it's an actual thing. So yeah, but I think the challenge is, yeah, how do you find the interesting angle in it? And that's your challenge. It's yeah, but also from an interactive post, it might be like, what can you do that's going to bring people back? That, you know, whether it's a quiz or a, you know, or yeah, different personality types, or what can you do that's kind of question and answer that's going to elicit a response? So that it's yeah. Yeah.
With your Facebook advertising, do you do a combination of ads and boost and post, or just boost and post? How do you do it?
Yeah, my knowledge of Facebook, I'd never actually run Facebook ads before, so I still feel like a complete amateur. I have installed the Pixel on my page, but like I'm actually going to get some help to work out that, because I know it's important, but it's sort of like, I know it's really important. So yeah, I do a combination. I still do the paid, probably back off on the paid likes, because like I kind of feel there's enough people there now. Now I just sort of want to, you know, yeah, get more the content out, boost. So yeah, I do some ads, but they all pretty much look like pictures of crystals. So it's never anything that really says ad. Or when I was running events, I'd be sort of promoting event, like they would be ads. So it'd be like book in or that. But yeah, I find that the physical product side of things, the crystal side of things, like it's more promoting the picture of the crystal. Yeah, but when I do the online workshop, so I've filmed most of the online workshop content. That's going to be a different, you know, I've created sales videos and things like that, so I'll actually be using video ads, mainly. Yeah, so it's a mix, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was just going to say, I know you touched upon the video side of things.
Yeah.
The tool that I use, which I thought I'd share with you, and it's super easy. So there's one that you spoke about where they'll pull or scratch the data due to being created. But you can also use a tool that's called Magesto. You literally just take video, and then it will do everything for you. It will turn everything into video. So if you've got like 10 shots of video, you upload each of those shots. They'll stitch it all together. You can do text overlay, and I can do a video now of all of that will help with Facebook within 10 minutes.
Yeah, awesome.
So yeah, so it's about $14 a month, but
Okay.
I thought I'd share it.
Yeah, thanks.
It's a great tool, especially those who are nervous about video and not really knowing where to go. But Magesto, just download it.
Okay.
It's legendary.
Yeah, cool, great. I'll give it a go.
I think I'm going to have to call it there because we're a little bit over. So I wanted to thank you very much. And here we go.
Thank you. Thank you very much.